Hello, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is now 5:18, and we'll begin by standing and pledging allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we will approve the minutes. Does anyone have any comments or questions about last week's minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Approved. And it's, I wanted to ask the clerk whether we have a quorum. It's on.
We do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. And anyone who's wishing to speak today will need to stand to be sworn in by our Assistant City Attorney. Sean?
If you plan on speaking to the board this evening, please stand and raise your right hand. And repeat after me. Do you swear to tell the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting City Attorney. Okay, our first item on the agenda is case UDP HP 24039, 701 Southwest 12th Avenue. Are there any disclosures on the board for this project? No? None?
No.
None, okay. Is the representative here? Okay. Tricia?
Lena is the case planner for this item.
I'm sorry.
She'll
yes.
start.
Lena.
Okay. Good evening. So this is the case number is UDP HP 24039. It's the request was replacement of the existing after the fact certificate of appropriateness for major alterations for the replacement of the existing windows and doors and modification of the existing window openings on a historic landmark. As you remember, this item was on February 3rd Historic Preservation Board meeting, and it was deferred to the first time to the April 7th HPB meeting, and then it was deferred several times, last time on August 4th, 2025. At the meeting in February, HPB members directed the applicant to revise the plans to comply with the ULDR and Historic Preservation Design Guidelines, and insisted on to provide the following revision to the plans. Windows. All altered windows on the primary residence visible from the public right-of-way, including windows framing the covered front entrance and in the dormer, must be accurately restored to match the original windows in all their details, including placement, size, and divisions. All mountings must have a raised profile. All glass shall be clear with an option of low E. There were also other requirements, including permitting. All after-the-fact alterations must be permitted in compliance with code and building department. And there were some additional elements. Separate after-the-fact certificate of appropriateness application is required for other items, including but not limited to removal of the railing at the front porch, removal of the flat roof over the Florida room, installation of vented skylights, removal of the chimney, addition of the enclosed area in the side veranda. So the applicant stated that, in the latest application, he stated that he is attempting to restore the original appearance of the house as depicted in the archival photo. So it was, I think it's on the previous slide. Yes, the chimney. The applicant stated that all alterations to the home started in response to the recommendations from the insurance inspection, and he provided supporting documents, including inspection report dated February 2024, addendum to contract, and insurance notice also from 2024. And according to these documents, insurance company requested replacement or even removal of some materials and elements from the structure because of the bad condition and multiple safety hazards throughout the home. And in this application, the applicant, in response to the HPB comments provided on February 3rd, submitted the following updates. Windows. The applicant proposes to modify the new front facade windows, the two windows framing the porch and the dormer window, by adding muntins with a raised profile painted in a dark color. You can see it on the screens, the rendering of the proposed modifications. They also request to retain the current opening dimensions and existing tinted glass, citing that it will enhance natural lighting and improve exterior views without significantly compromising the home's overall historic aesthetic. They also proposed reinstallation of porch railing. So they propose to reinstall the front porch railing using wood material to be painted white, consistent with the previous design. They also proposing to visually minimize the effect of the addition. They propose to paint the addition in a dark charcoal gray to blend seamlessly with the surrounding structure. And then they will camouflage the skylight. They already removed the chimney because of the concerns from the insurance company. And they also proposing to install a new fence, white painted metal fence along the front perimeter of the property. This request is not, like fence installation is not included in this application. We will not review it because they haven't submitted any site plan or any notice of acceptance for the proposed fence. To summarize, I just want to say that the proposed measures to mitigate the impact of the after-the-fact alterations partially address the Historic Preservation Board's comments. However, the window modifications do not fully resolve the concerns outlined in the initial staff report. In accordance with the historic preservation standards, replacement windows on the primary street-facing facade must match the original windows in size, design, and materials as closely as possible. To preserve the building's historic appearance, the installation of modern square-shaped windows with black aluminum frames and tinted glass visibly alters the character-defining features of the property and modernizes the structure's appearance, substantially diminishing its historic character and architectural integrity. As a result, the revised plans only partially meet the criteria required for the certificate of appropriateness. Thank you.
Lena, I have one question, and it was a few pages back. It was something to do with adding partitions at the windows.
Yes.
Could you explain that, the last point?
So they are adding partitions to the windows, so it will be.
What do you mean by partitions?
Like mountains with raised profile. Yeah,
mountains, that's a totally different thing.
As well as a mullion.
Yeah, sorry.
A mullion in the center of the window.
Yeah.
Oh, a mullion and muntins.
And muntins.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and also, I'm sorry, so it's just a side note to the application that if the owner will install the fence, we recommend instead of the straight fence, use scalloped fence design because it's matching the original fence at this property.
And the original fence was
it's on another
vertically?
slide.
Okay.
It's
on the original.
On this photo, black and white photo, you can see this scalloped.
You're talking about the fence around the property?
Yes.
Okay.
But we are not reviewing fence today. It's just for the future,
Right.
for the
Okay.
future application. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Applicant? lean into the microphone, please.
Please make sure you turn on the microphone. There's a little red button, or a little button that turns red on the bottom.
There you go.
Okay, my name is Gabriel Palladino. First of all, I would like to thank the staff, Lena and Tricia, for their patience in guiding me through this process. And thank you for the introduction. So I would like to first answer any questions, but just a little bit to summarize what happened initially was that the window contractor, the way apparently they are used to doing is the permit process is that they submit the permit application basically the day before the installation. And apparently they received a partial approval, which they consider to be the final approval, and they install the windows. And then the approval was revoked because it was reviewed to not basically satisfy the requirements for a historical house. So unfortunately, the windows were already installed. I was not really aware of the situation until after the fact. So now I'm trying to make reparations to that situation. So ideally, I would like to change the least possible, but I'm definitely willing to make some changes to make it a lot closer to the original design, which was basically the windows with the partitions, and adding the railing and basically summarize what Lena mentioned.
Instead of saying partitions, they're not partitions.
What are they
They're
called?
mullions and muntins.
Moldings?
The
Yeah.
just the intermittent.
Yes.
Between.
That's right. I have a
pieces.
picture that's a little bit
No,
more clear
we
here.
understand. Okay. We have that on the screen. Okay.
So in this
Right.
photo, they're white. Ideally, I prefer to them in a dark color, but basically it'd be the same design.
But
And
you would not be changing the non-historic windows that have been installed. Is that correct?
So basically, this would entail just leaving the windows as they are and making it appear a lot closer to the original design, which was with the moldings.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't we? Anyone else? Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this? Members of the public. Okay. If not, we'll. Pardon? What do you mean put a ticket in?
For this item, you can just come up to the podium if you'd like to speak.
For this item? Nothing to say? Do you want to say something? Please, get up. Yes.
My name is Estelle. I'll introduce myself later.
Please introduce yourself.
Yep. Hi, my name is Estelle Brennan. I'm actually the president of the Riverside Park Residents Association. I didn't realize this was on the agenda tonight. I'm actually quite fond of this property. It's fondly known as the Parrot House. I don't know if it's still considered that from your perspective. I walk by this house every single day. And I'm not sure from you guys' side, I am not prepared to speak to what the window panes mean or whatever, but the dark panes looking like it won't really look like the picture. Right now it just looks like plain glass, like big modern windows. So, I mean, I guess I would just have some concern. This is one of the few historical like homes in our neighborhood. So just take that into consideration that when you're making your decisions, that it's one of the few pieces of history we have left in our community.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? Just come up.
Good evening, HPB Board. My name is Michaela Conca, President, Broward Trust for Historic Preservation. I'm very familiar with this house. Back in 2017, this house was in a historic holiday home tour. It was known as the Parrot House. It was original when it was part of our tour. Our tour included homes that were even though they may not be designated, the requirement to be part of the store was that the home had to be historic. This one was designated, and the owners were so proud to show it off. They were ecstatic. They went crazy decorating it. We had, I believe we had over 100 people that went through this home to see it. So I would strongly recommend to try to bring this home back to its original historically significant architectural design. It is, I believe, it may be older than the Stranahan House, or if not, somewhat around the same age as the Stranahan House. So it's a pretty significant piece of our history. And I'm sorry that you're going through this, but yeah, it should never have happened.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? If not, we'll close the public hearing and we'll open it up to the board. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Manley, and my only question to you are you the head of the project in regards to providing jobs for anybody, or is there already a team on site for this? Oh. So who are you going to hire to do it? Who do the job or the project that you're looking to?
So, yeah,
No, you have to speak on the mic.
I'm not sure if I'm.
So basically, he is the owner of the project.
Yeah.
He's bringing the project before the board today.
And I'm just asking, who are you looking to construct it?
I've hired like several companies, several contractors.
You have to speak.
Okay.
That's all. That's one question.
Okay.
That was it?
I've hired a local contractor.
You have a contractor.
For,
Okay.
yeah, for both.
Okay.
I believe the name of the contractor for the windows,
Okay.
A and G contractors. I don't know exactly.
Okay.
So
That was the only question.
Yeah. A little bit of background information too about the property is I'm not sure if we can go back to the photos of the property, but this property was pretty much in demolition condition when I acquired the home a little bit over a year and a half ago. And I think it would have been a lot easier to make an argument for a developer if they had bought the house to remove it from the historical, because it was a hazard, the house for
Okay.
whoever was going to move there. And taking that into consideration, that was, unless somebody like me who loved that house pretty much more than anyone else in this room, that I lived in the neighborhood for about 6.5 years now, I decided to sell my house and one block up the street on the 13th Avenue to move into that house because I liked the house. And if you are familiar with the Riverside Park neighborhood, you would know that every house that goes up for sale gets bought. There's one big developer, there's other developers that are buying all of the houses in Riverside Park, and they're doing new construction. So the most likely course for this house would have been that it would have been bought, most likely because of the condition of the house would have been removed from the historical board, and it would have been demolished and built new construction. And I know this is speculation, but considering the, yeah.
Please turn on your microphone, Chair.
That might be all well and good, but we're here dealing with a different reality.
I understand.
And I think that's what we really need to focus
No,
on
but
today.
I mainly explain this to the public because it's important to understand that, the efforts that have been made to keep this house rather than being no house. So, once that gets taken into the consideration, I think it's important to put that into perspective. I'm not a historical organization. I'm just an individual that is very active in Fort Lauderdale. I own, medical offices and other things, and I'm a very active member of the community. And I try to do the best for this house, and I hire a licensed contractor to change the windows. unfortunately, they didn't follow the proper steps for historical property.
Right.
I wasn't aware of this, and I am willing to make everything to repair this. And if that entails basically changing the structure again, it's fine. But at the same time, to put into consideration that when you look at the photos, if we make the the changes that I'm requesting, it would look very similar to the original house. In fact, it would look more closely to the original house than the way it has been remodeled in the 80s.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think we need to go to the board comment now.
Sure.
Okay. Robert?
First of all, I commend you for putting the house in shape. We have 54 pages of narrative and pictures that were supplied to us. And I've had the opportunity to sit back and look at them. And the house was in rough shape. And it is a very, very special house that you own, so congratulations on that.
Okay.
You obviously take pride. And I think you said something about that you want to make sure that the house meets the standards all the way around and to make modifications that would adhere to the original house. And my feeling is, I think that's great. And if that's the issue, I don't think we're too far apart or at all. I think we're in the same page.
Good. Thank you.
Well, I'm just trying to understand what we're asking him to do, Tricia. He has made a statement that if he has to go make changes to what he's done, this is after the fact. So his explanation, which is, I'm not questioning it, I'm just saying the installers went ahead and did a job without his observation or approval, so to speak. And here he is with all this work done. His intention, he knew he was buying a historical home. He's showed great interest in fixing it up and did not follow the guidelines, but that's, according to him, not what he intended to do. And now he's intending and offering to fix it. However, at the same time, that's extremely costly. So is there a middle ground here for the preservation board and for the owner to meet somewhere in between what he's already done and what you want to see happen? And is it practical and economically achievable for him as an owner to do so?
So when we talked to the property owner, we discussed the fact that the primary focus is on the front elevation. We weren't asking for a lot of modifications beyond that, and just to make sure that the front elevation exhibited the features that were original to the home. And so in the kind of adaptation of what was already modified, it doesn't quite meet what we'd be looking to achieve in this type of application. We would want to return it, at least that front elevation, back to the original. We're not asking for the side Florida room or the other elevations. And there's some effort towards that end in putting in the mullions and the muttons on the windows. However, as you know, we typically ask for clear glass. Some of the openings were expanded upon as well. And so just making sure that we're trying to achieve that historic appearance as close as possible. At this point, it's up to the board to make a determination of what the property owner is offering to do, achieves that goal.
All right, let me ask the
that.
property owner then. You just heard what the staff is asking for. Will you comply with that?
I would, although...
Yes, just a yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, then we got a deal.
Well,
That's just where I'm at with this.
Okay.
So I can let someone else speak. That's my 2 cents.
Let him finish. Why don't you respond?
Yeah, so one window, there was two windows
So
combined.
when you're talking about one window, which was two windows, you're
Yeah,
talking
so-
about the one to the left of the main door.
So looking at the front door to the right,
Can we have the picture changed to the pictures of the house? of the original. There you go.
There. So the window to the right of the door, that was two windows very close together, separated by basically, it was within the same window frame, but there were two separate windows.
So you're saying these two windows are the same size as the original because they were in the same window frame.
Right. So the new window that is on that side is basically one window. It's all together. So basically, the two windows got combined into one opening.
Okay, I understand that, but it still looks like two windows.
Right. So
Okay.
by putting the moldings, it will look like two windows.
Understand. Okay. And then what about the window on the other side of the
The
porch?
window on the other side was a narrower window.
Single window.
Was a single window, but it was a little bit wider than the other two.
Right.
And it's been widened by about 10 inches. So basically to make it look the same as the other one. So it's symmetrical now. Before it was not symmetrical, but it had
Okay.
the shutters.
Just to cut to the chase.
Yeah.
So the window on the left, the double window, is the same size as the original.
Correct.
Just a new window without the partition in the middle.
Right,
The
right.
window on the right side, which is the single window, has now been made to look like a double window.
Exactly.
So
So
it's
they look
wider.
symmetrical.
Okay. And then there's the clear story window upstairs on the second floor. But
That's
I think
right.
we're mainly concerned about this. And then the around the corner, there was the suggestion to paint the what do you call that little room around the corner?
The
Called
addition,
the windows.
yeah.
To paint that a darker color.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So the camouflage,
Okay.
there's a lot of vegetation right now, so it's not very visible from the front, and in a dark color it will be.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to the board and Alan.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
you for your patience and for being here. And Lena, thanks for the updates. I wanted to remind the board that at our February 3rd meeting, we provided the following comments. All altered windows of the primary residence visible from the public right-of-way, including windows. So what we've been talking about must be accurately restored to match the original windows in all their details, including placement, size, and division. So I know you all have had an ongoing dialogue, right? It just doesn't seem like we've gotten where we talked about 7 months ago. So for me, I'd like to get where we talked about going. We spent a fair amount of time on this. We had zoning and permitting here with us. So I'd like to get this the way we suggested in February.
So after at the meeting in February, I had agreed to bring a rendering of how it would look if we put the moldings on the windows rather than changing the openings, because that entails more structural changes to the home. Because of different delays or different reasons, I finally was able to get the renderings, and now basically I'm presenting the renderings in the way it would look, which in my opinion, obviously, I think it's definitely very close to the original windows, but except a little bit wider, and the one to the right, it's a little wider, but it will be made to look like the other one.
All right.
So-
Let's have Alan.
Right, but basically it was I had agreed to bring the renderings with the suggestions.
Yeah, thanks again for that. It seems like we're still a little bit away from what the staff has been looking for.
What would you like to see?
I'd like to see what we asked him for in February.
Okay.
I thought we all agreed to that.
We had not agreed in February. In fact, we had agreed to wait for the renderings and then revisit.
Okay, I'm sure you're right. Thank you.
Good evening. I have to say, in my view, I can tell that you did a really nice job bringing up to a certain point of condition. Unfortunately, we're in a historic preservation position, and I'm in alignment with Alan regarding preserving what the initial look of the home was, and that's really my stance on that.
Okay.
Is that it? I have a few comments also. I certainly have agreed. Oh, I'm sorry. It helps turn this on. I've also, I remember all of our conversations because I know you've been back here a number of times. And one of the things that was brought up repeatedly was that this is a historic house. It's still a historic house. And the renovations that have been done don't make it look like a historic house. I would like to see, as we've talked about, I think, first of all, the double windows to the, I'm getting confused here, to the right side, the left side, the double windows to the left side of the front door, I think are fine. I think they show up well. I do think that they should not be painted black muntins and mullions because that makes the windows look far too contemporary for the age of the house. I'd also like to see in front, which has not been talked about, is decorative shutters on the sides of the windows, which would also give a little bit of age to the house and also be honest to the original renderings. As to the window on the right side, I know that's been changed, and that was a really big issue for a number of times that we've been here. I would like to see that reduced to a smaller window because I think it's important to the look of the front of the house and the historic nature of the house. I think by painting the mullions and muntins white on windows on both sides and having shutters, it will really give a sense of the history of the house, which I think is what we're looking for here today. So I know we're asking a little bit, if it passes, that one window, to take one window out that's been there, which was incorrectly put in. It wasn't your fault, but it was your contractor. And replace that with a single window that would be, well, I can't tell from the rendering here, but I'm sure when they go in, they would have a sense of how big that window is and retain the lines of the home as to what they were.
Arthur, that's front-facing left, right? Front-facing left. If you're looking at the house on your left.
Standing inside looking out the door.
It's front-facing right.
Okay.
So it's a single window
Got it.
on that side.
The shutters is a great idea, in my opinion, too, by the way.
Pardon?
The shutters is a great idea.
Okay.
We need to bring it back.
So if there's no more comment from the board, as there is, go ahead. Rob.
I just have a question. It was brought up in the report about tinting. Where does this stand right now? Are the windows tinted?
Yes.
The windows have like a very light tint, which is mainly for, this is recommended by code too, for like energy consumption and basically more, this is the way it's recommended now. They're not dark. They're just not totally clear. They're slightly tinted.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Would anyone on the board like to make a motion? I cannot
Can I
make a
say
motion.
one last thing, if you don't mind?
Sign this and move on. Sorry. No.
Go ahead.
Just a reminder, I'm not sure if you're aware of this too, but some of the other changes that have been made to the house, for example, like when the roof needed to be replaced completely, the roofer, they had suggested other materials like metal and more durable, and we had that the permit through the permit process. It was changed to basically this look the same as the original shingle roof.
So what is in the permit process now?
So
What
now-
are you proposing?
No, I'm not really proposing that. But what I'm saying is like the process that was followed for the roof, I believe it was going to be the same process for the windows, where if this was approved, if it wasn't approved, it was going to be changed prior to installation, but
Approved by whom?
by the board. So, but the contractor did not, or the way the approval process happened, it was confusing for the contractor and they installed it prior. So, to keep that in mind too. The
If it
house.
was confusing for the contractor, I hate to tell you, you may not have had the right contractor.
Well, maybe, but also in the process of the approval, they get an email saying that the permit was approved, and I believe the next day they got another email saying that
Right.
it wasn't.
Because they realized it had to go to the historic
Exactly.
board. Exactly.
Right, but the windows were already installed.
Yeah, but
So-
that still is before
Yes.
the permit was
Right.
issued.
And the last thing I would like to say is that the shutters were not in the house when I bought it, and it hasn't been like that for probably a couple of decades.
But they are original.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I agree to install shutters and install the moldings in both windows, but if at all possible, keep the opening of the windows as they are. So that would be like an expense that is much more reasonable than having to redo that window.
Have the board weigh in?
I have a question for Tricia. There are many other things that your staff could be asking him to do besides this front elevation, correct?
Yeah, correct.
You're looking at some other things that were done that you're saying, okay, we can live with that, but to get the best of a bad situation, we'd like to see the front of the house look a certain way so
Right.
that it satisfies its historic character.
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm just putting this out there so that if the worst case scenario would be fix everything.
Oh, I completely agree, and
So,
I'm very
so
thankful for
I'm
your
just trying to put
understanding.
myself in your position and also respect the fact that the home, when you bought it, you knew it was historically preserved, and permits went sideways, and here we are. So how do we make it better? You had indicated that you're willing to do whatever, inclusive to changing the size of the windows. So I'm in the thinking that if that's all you have to do, then as in the interest of maintaining the preservation of the building, I would have to ask you to do that. So,
Yeah, you want to add anything?
Yeah, Tim, on point.
Would you like to make a motion?
oh boy, I hate making motions. I'll make a motion, or somebody over there will help me with it. If I make this motion to, am I approving this as it reads, as an application is put in, Patricia?
No, it wouldn't be an approval as presented.
Pardon me? I can take a shot at it. Alan's going to take a shot at it. Thank you so much.
I move to approve the resolution for an after-the-fact certificate of appropriateness for major alterations under case number UDP HP 24039, located at 701 Southwest 12th Avenue, based on the following conditions for the COA for major alterations. Number one, all altered windows of the primary residence visible from the public right-of-way, including windows framing the covered front entrance and in the dormer, must be accurately restored to match the original windows in all their details, including placement, size, and divisions. All muntins must have a raised profile. All glass shall be clear with an option of low E. 2, all after-the-fact alterations must be permitted in compliance with the code and the building department. 3, a certificate of appropriateness application to the HPP will be required for a fence installation if it exceeds 3 feet in height. 4, this application is subject to the approval by building, zoning, and all ULDR requirements. And I was on the fence on shutters. Don't have that.
It's your motion.
Okay. That's it.
So you,
Motion for the shutters.
No.
All in favor?
Is there a second?
Oh, second.
I would like to ask if you'd make a friendly amendment and include shutters.
I will.
Okay, I'll
I would
second
just
that
like
too.
a clarification. When you say primary residence in the conditions, we are only talking about the main house, not the porch addition.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Just
I
for the record.
wanted to bring up one other thing to the maker of the motion here. There was a comment somewhere along the line that the section of the house that is recessed, that has all the windows around it, what do you call that room?
Addition.
The addition, okay.
Yeah.
The addition. It was painted a very dark color in one of the renderings.
Yeah.
I think one of the comments here was it may have been a little too dark
Okay.
for the neighborhood and just lighten it up a little bit,
Okay.
okay?
We,
Well, it has to go through. Anyway,
Amendment on that.
your motion, is that okay?
Yes, I accept that motion.
Okay.
That amendment.
So we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. The motion carries.
Right.
Thank you very much.
thank you very much.
Okay. Give us a second here. Staff report. So we're on the second item of our agenda. This is UDP HP 25015, 700 Southwest 4th Place. This is a certificate of appropriateness for new construction. Is the applicant here? Yeah, okay. And you're the applicants, actually. Hello.
Hello. I'm Bill Storrs, architect representing my clients, Aaron Meyer and Scott Jordan.
Great. Please, go ahead.
Chair, would you like the staff report first?
Yes.
Oh, yes, we
And
would.
do you
Thank
have any disclosures?
Does anyone have any disclosures?
No.
No.
None.
None.
Okay, thank you. Lena is the case planner for this item.
Okay. Good evening again. So this is case number UDP HP 25015. The applicant is requesting certificate of appropriateness for new construction of a two-story single-family residence at the 700 Southwest 4th Place. According to the property records, the original structure was designed in 1941 by the architect Courtney Stewart for George B. Bryan, and despite its historical background and explicit Spanish revival design, the subject property was classified as non-contributing in the most recent Talbot Bend Historic District Architectural Resource Survey due to multiple additions and alterations, which resulted in a loss of integrity. In 2023, the Historic Preservation Board reviewed reviewed case number UDP HP 23024 and approved certificate of appropriateness for the demolition of an existing two-story single-family residence. And the main reason for the demolition request was the fact that currently that the property was below flood elevation and it had significant structural damage. The request was approved and a certificate of appropriateness was issued, but the property is still there, so it wasn't demolished yet. And on August 7th this year, the applicant submitted extension request for the demolition permit. So, and also this property is located in archaeologically significant zone in the Phase 1 archaeological survey conducted by Coastal Archaeology and History Research in July 2023. It wasn't found any evidence of prehistoric or historic cultural resource on the parcel. So summary of this project for new construction, request for new construction. The applicant proposes the construction of a new two-story single-family residence on a residential parcel located adjacent to Cooley's Landing Marina, which is with its southern elevation oriented towards the New River. The project site is within the boundaries of the Selby Bend Historic District. The proposed structure will occupy approximately 24% of the total lot area and will reach a height of 30 feet, which includes a 6-foot elevation requirement for compliance with FEMA. Architecturally, the design pays homage. You can see the drawings, the architectural plans on the screen. Architecturally, the design pays homage to the original 1941 residence by Courtney Stewart through its continued use of the Mediterranean revival style. The new structure advances the design with more articulated massing and refined architectural details, blending historical, classical forms and proportions with the textured character of Spanish eclectic influences. I will not go deep into the report because it's a very long report. We reviewed every single
we've read
detail.
it.
Yes, I will just summarize. So the proposed development complies with the dimensional standards of the RS8 zoning district and demonstrates a thoughtful architectural response to its immediate context, waterfront setting, and the historical character of the site. Its design resonates with the neighboring residences, particularly the Spanish-influenced homes at 705 and 709 Southwest 4th Place. It also complies, so we found that the footprint of this property, of the proposed structure, also meets all the requirements, zoning requirements. The setbacks are fine, like the front, back, side, everything is okay with that. There are only few minor concerns which we expressed in this staff report. So per the material and design guidelines, sliding windows are permitted only when not visible from the public right-of-way. And in this case, the architect is proposing to install sliding glass door in the back of the property, which is facing the river, so it's like secondary front facade, and it's not.
So you're counting two front facades for the house?
In this case, yes.
Because of the river.
Yes, waterfront, like front facade from the street and from the river. Also, some windows on the front and side elevations have simulated stained wood decorative shutters, and according to our guidelines, it's not recommended to have non-operable shutters. So we prefer
to have what kind of shutters?
Non-operable shutters.
Non-operating shutters?
Yeah, like we're not recommending to use non-operable decorative.
So that means on the last project, we recommended decorative shutters.
So this is specific to the Sailboat Bend Historic District material and design guidelines. It specifically states.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And also, the applicant has not submitted site plans or design details for future fencing and gates as part of this application, indicating that these elements will be addressed at a later stage of the project. So probably they will apply for another certificate of appropriateness later. And we requested some details at the moment of permitting for the height of the equipment and the wall to screen the mechanical equipment of the proposed property. But overall, the impression is positive,
Okay.
and our response that proposed residence in general aligns with the historic preservation design guidelines, particularly in its architectural detailing, building form, material selection, and treatment of both primary and secondary elevations. Although some features such as rear sliding glass doors deviate from typical standards of the Silver Bend Historic District.
Thank you. Thank you. Is the applicant here? First of all, do we have any disclosures? I think we went through that. We did. Sorry. Please.
I'm basically here just to answer any questions you might have.
Oh, okay.
I have a question. Are you and the owner okay with all these conditions that have been set forth? Sliding glass doors, changing to French, et cetera, et cetera?
That was not well,
Yeah.
is that a suggestion or is that a requirement from the staff?
Tricia?
The conditions that are outlined within the staff report are for the board's consideration if you are to approve this project.
I can say that we would much prefer sliders on the back. I would say to you architecturally that the appearance of those sliders are filtered by the series of arches in the back. In other words, they're not directly on the exterior of the house exposed for vision. So they're in some extent filtered by the traditional arches out in front of them.
Is there anything else that you're concerned about that you're being asked to do?
No.
That's the only issue you have. So if that was the one that you could work with, the rest of it flies.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, well, okay. The question regarding operable versus inoperable shutters. We can certainly make them operable. I don't think that's advisable for a number of reasons. For hurricane issues, they're much better fixed. We don't need them to be operable in this case because the invention of impact
So you're
windows.
proposing to keep them as decorative shutters?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Chair, that was not outlined as a proposed condition
It was
to
not.
have them operable. It's just, it was mentioned to the board as something that wasn't in compliance completely with our material and design guidelines.
Okay.
If I heard correctly, on the sliding windows, the one that is facing the street are of concern, correct?
Facing the right-of-way.
Facing
And
the right-of-way, all
For the
right.
purposes of the waterway, it is a right-of-way.
That is the only area of concern, and if it's in other areas, it's not important or enough where we have to discuss it.
We specifically have it in the code as far as sliding glass doors and windows that are facing the right-of-way. And it's something that we consistently do provide that to the board as far as information, and generally staff does write it in as a condition, but it's ultimately up to the board to make a determination if you'd like to include that condition.
I'm going to jump in here because I have a comment, and then I'll let you guys speak. I think the location of this house with so-called two front elevations, one facing the street and one facing the waterway, gives that hardship to this house. So I would think it would be fine not to comply on the rear side facing the water. I think the sliders personally are fine there because they're not seen, but I would change the slider, or I don't know how many there are on the front of the house.
There are no sliders on the front of the house.
So it's only the sliding doors on the rear.
Correct.
Okay. I've said my piece. Please continue.
I just wanted to confirm that as well. So.
Yes. Confirmed. Yep. There's no sliders on the front.
No comment.
I should say the street side, because
Yeah,
some people
it makes it
consider the
clearer.
waterfront
Yes.
the front side, but they're
The right of way.
The only sliders being proposed are on the water side,
Right.
not the street side.
I just wanted to tell you, I think you've all designed a beautiful home, and I hope you're very happy in it for many, many years. And I think it's a classic home. It will fit nicely in the neighborhood. I like the idea that it takes after the original Courtney Stewart house, who was a very noted architect in his day in Fort Lauderdale. So with that, I have no more comments.
Thank you.
So would somebody like to make a motion?
Would you like to open it up to public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry.
For the public
We
hearing.
open it up to public comment. No one from the public wishes to speak? Okay. We haven't approved it yet. Okay.
Would you like to close the public hearing?
Well, I will close the public hearing. We'll open it up to board comment, which we've already done. So would anyone like to make a motion?
I'm happy. I move to approve the resolution for a certificate of appropriateness for new construction under case number UDP HP 25015 located at 700 Southwest 4th Place, based on the staff memorandum and subject to the following conditions. All mechanical equipment must be fully screened from public view. The fence that is shown on the site plan is not approved as part of the application, and a separate certificate of appropriateness application to the HPB will be required for consideration of a fence if it exceeds 3 feet in height. All glass shall be clear with an option of low E coating. The application is subject to the approval by building, zoning, and all ULDR requirements, including landscaping.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tim.
And Bob.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Good
Thank
luck
you.
with everything.
Thank you.
And now we're up to item number 3, the archaeological site designation, case number UDP HPD 25002, 640 Seabreeze Boulevard. Is someone presenting this project? Actually, Tricia is.
Well, Chair, I would like to ask the applicant to get us started on this, as I believe they have some things they'd like to mention before we get going. But I would like to make an amendment on the record for the actual application form that was submitted. It does state 2 addresses, 1100 Seabreeze Boulevard and 640 Seabreeze Boulevard. This application is only for the addresses of 640 Seabreeze Boulevard.
What did the other address have to do with
It's
this
one parcel
application?
south of the proposed area for designation. There are 4 parcels on the beach. 3 of the parcels are with the address 640 Seabreeze Boulevard, and 1 parcel is 1100 Seabreeze Boulevard. The applicant, in their final submittal, submitted 2 parcels as part of this proposed designation, and both parcels maintain the address of 640 Seabreeze.
So the address of 1200 Seabreeze has nothing to do with this?
1100.
1100
Yes.
has
So
nothing to do with
we're
this.
on the record amending the fact that 1100 Seabreeze Boulevard is not included in this proposal.
Thank you.
And now Michaela Konka, the president of Broward Trust for Historic Preservation, is the applicant of this archaeological site designation, and we'll let her get started.
Good evening. Again, Michaela Konka, Broward Trust for Historic Preservation. I think that this application is going to be recognized on its own merits based on the location of this property. It is, as many of you know, an iconic beach, and an iconic beach that's been celebrated by many of you in this room. I would like to say that there are some conditions that will need to be met for us to move forward with this, and I wanted to take this opportunity to speak to the HPB about that before we jump into it. And then I also would like to defer the remainder of my time to Christopher Eck, who is the archaeologist that was hired by Broward Trust to do the research that went into this application. And we're also very lucky to have with us tonight Bob Carr, Mr. Robert Carr, who is also an archaeologist, who was instrumental in the archaeologically significant zone that runs along the wave wall of 640 Seabreeze Boulevard. So without Bob's research, we wouldn't probably be standing here today. So with that said, I'm going to have Christopher Eck come up, and he will give, I think, a lot better history about the site and help, hopefully, HPB understand the importance and significance to it. Chris?
Thank you, Michaela. And thank you to the board and city staff. My name is Chris Eck. 17 years ago, I actually sat in your place. I was on the preservation board for the city of Fort Lauderdale, served as chair, and I also served as the administrator and county preservation officer for Broward County. So I'm quite familiar with the area. I still have lots of family here in Broward and Miami-Dade. I'm here to answer any questions you have about the report itself, but I just wanted to say that it's important, which you've read in the report itself, about the history of the site. It's basically the site for which the city is named. It's of the three forts that use the name Fort Lauderdale, this was the one that was actually occupied for the longest time. The other two were temporary forts. So this is really coming into our 250th anniversary, and an important site to consider. But with that said, with the history of the site connected to the Seminole War period, the House of Refuge, the Coast Guard base, and other things that were there for quite a long time, I know that there are lots of considerations for the city. And a lot of the research you've read in the report, you'll note that it's based on what Bob did back in 2011 on behalf of the city and doing archaeological excavations at the park. And the nature of archaeological excavations is they're limited in scope, just by unless you're excavating fully the park, which wasn't being done at the time. These were excavations done ahead of construction to take place at the park. So in terms of designating the boundaries of the site, and I've spoken to the city staff about this, if there's time that's needed by the city to further define the boundaries by a deferral of this to get appropriate consideration put on it, I am not opposed to it, because I have full confidence that the city, which has been preserving the site for a long time, will continue to take into consideration the archaeological importance of the site and protect the site as best as possible. You can see in the report there are recommendations about how to do that, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? I guess
Well,
if
so,
you've signed up.
Chair, we can do the staff report
Yes, we can.
next, and then we do have people that have signed up to speak. If you did fill out one of these forms and you still have it, you can bring it over here and we'll call your name when the time comes. But we'll go ahead and we'll go back to the staff presentation.
Okay.
And I am the case planner, Tricia Logan,
Thank you.
principal urban planner as a case planner for this item. So as Michaela and Chris mentioned, this is a archaeological site designation application. It is for two parcels that are located on the Fort Lauderdale Public Beach Park. They are asking for recognition of a period of significance that ranges from the late Glades II period through the Glades III period and the Second Seminole War, and then portions of the mid-20th century, or through the 20th century, sorry. There are a few key dates that are outlined on the slide in front of you. That includes the occupation of the site as the third Fort Lauderdale, the occupation of the property as the House of Refuge, which started In 1892, it was moved to this location, and then the periods of 1915 through 1947, where this property was utilized by the Coast Guard, which was a subsequent entity to the House of Refuge. And then ultimately the city purchased the property in 1947 and now uses it as a public beach and park. There is this request for archaeological site designation. It is identified as a property that is eligible for designation as an archaeological site, and that it would be, the purpose of this would be to protect the archaeological site under the ground. Staff reviewed the application, and the ability to protect and ensure appropriate mitigation of the archaeological site in the event there's alterations to the site in the future is what is most significant about the designation itself. The designation would not preclude any ability to alter or demolish structures that are on the site today or have any new development. But since it is an active beach and park site, staff is outlining within the staff report and making a recommendation that there would be future additional testing of the site included in any proposed designation, and that there would be a management plan that accompanied a designation.
What do you mean by testing?
So archaeological testing of the site, so additional coring samples taken systematically throughout the parcel to understand the significant areas of the parcel, as well as depths that are most depths that would be encountered of archaeological matter along the way. This designation could offer additional educational awareness to the community of the importance of the Third Fort Lauderdale, and there is an opportunity to pursue an application for a state historic marker for the site. Just so you have an understanding of the location of the proposed boundaries of this application, on the map in front of you, that shows the two parcels that are included. To the west of these parcels is the Bahia Mar site marina.
Which is the Bahia Mar?
It's to the west of these parcels. So this is
At the top? Oh,
That's the ocean on your right.
yeah,
right.
on your left.
I know, I say it.
Yeah, on your left. This site has changed over time. These are two aerial photos of this location in 1947 and then again in 1955, where you can see the dramatic shift of what occurred during that time period from when the city purchased the site. And then just as a point of clarification, within the justification of the boundaries from the applicant, they are showing the area in kind of like orange on the right-hand side. That's the area that's proposed for designation. But the justification of the boundaries talks about the 2011 report that was mentioned by Michaela and Chris that Bob Carr developed as part of monitoring on the beach. The purple area shows what was included in that report. So there's a little bit of a difference between the description of the justification and then what is actually proposed for designation. And I don't know, Sean, do you want to
let me
add something?
Yeah, I'll briefly speak about that too. The city attorney's office advised city staff last week that the applicant can, at the discretion of the board, ask for a continuance to mend the boundaries to meet the 2011 study that was cited. If the applicant does not ask for a continuance or a continuance is not granted at the discretion of the board, the Historic Preservation Board is legally here to review the entire boundary of the application submitted, not just part of it, and whether competent substantial evidence is presented today to meet the designation factors for the entire proposed area of the applicant. Okay? So if you have any questions about that, please let me know.
What's that mean?
Could you
in
translate
English?
that, please?
Sure. I'll translate that. The orangish area right there is the area that the applicant proposed, correct? Yeah. And we're looking at factors to meet that entire area today, not just the purple area. So we're looking at evidence presented for the orange area.
And just to remind us, what does the purple area represent?
You want to talk?
I'm sorry.
So the purple area is the boundary of, or the extent of the testing that occurred in 2011, which is included in the monitoring report that was developed by Bob Carr's group. And that is utilized as the statement for justification within the designation report of providing the boundaries. And so there is a difference in the locations where they're talking about the area that was tested in 2011 versus what is proposed as the archaeological site.
So it sounds like one of the things is to bring all this information together.
To some degree, yeah. There needs to be some additional justification made for, moving the boundary or having the area that's within the beach further east included in the designation.
Okay.
Just so we're all on the same page before we get deeper into this.
Sure.
Are we trying to establish a platform for this application to be voted on tonight, or are we trying, is the applicant saying that they know that there's more work to be done and they want to be heard, and then we'll be taking this under consideration at another time?
My understanding from the applicant is that they did want to speak to the board tonight and have this application heard. Michaela, did you have anything you'd like to add?
I felt it was important because I knew there would be questions with regards to the boundaries and what exactly is it, what exactly are we trying to designate. And so for clarity's sake, I thought it was important that we speak to the application to the board so that we can answer any questions that you might have and clarify where each one of you individually might sit or stand with this application. We're lucky enough to have, as I said, Bob Carr here as well. So I think, and of course, Christopher can answer again any questions you might have to help you further understand how this all ties together. I'm not an archaeologist, I'm a historic preservationist, so that's one of the reasons why we hired a professional to come in and make this application on behalf of the trust. Go ahead, Arthur.
I have a question. One thing I don't understand is I understand the designation of this place for its historic notoriety. What I don't understand is on the surface, it just looks like a beach. There's no demarcation of where the last fort was. There's nothing up there. And what I get concerned about is, what do you do when you have a music festival like Tortuga and you have thousands and thousands of people tramping over the ground? What do you do with a crowded beach day and you have little kids digging wherever they want to?
I think that's a valid question. And I think that the overlay is, I'm not 100% certain about this, but I do believe the overlay is outside the boundaries of some of those.
What do you mean by the overlay?
The orange.
Is that outside the boundary?
It's a combination of inside the original zone that was developed by Bob, and then the additional boundaries that we are submitting.
I'd like to see a map that spells this out clearer, because it's getting very confusing.
Yeah, and I think that Bob might be able to bring some clarity to that. But go ahead. Thank you.
So I'm Bob Carr. I'm the executive director of the Archaeological and Historical Conservancy. Our headquarters are in Davie. So I think I can put to rest the apparent discrepancy between the orange area and the purple area. The purple area is the area that we were confined to based on the city doing modifications to their parking. So all of our investigations were restricted to that area. So that's why it's this narrow purple strip. But we know from our archival research and from aerial photos and from findings from other people that the site obviously went towards the ocean and that the fort, or at least parts of the fort, were there. So we base the projection of the location of the fort and of the overall designation of those two parcels on not just the archaeological materials that we found, but based on the archival information indicating that the fort actually extended eastward. The reason the purple area to the south was not included, because that was determined to be fill that was pumped in, because to the south was the original historic Fort Lauderdale New River inlet. And that inlet is gone because it has been filled, and that we actually found the limits of where that boundary was. Now, that isn't to say that doing a more profound systematic excavations and testing wouldn't give us a better idea, a more exacting idea of what the boundaries could be or should be. So that's an important thing to consider.
Okay. And getting back to my original question, now I'm forgetting it. I'm sorry.
Digging.
What?
Digging.
Digging and the. Well, two questions: site disturbance by normal beach activities. Let's call it that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second question was.
Tortuga and stuff like that.
Well, yeah. Let's start with the first one.
I mean, so we understand that this is a beach,
right,
and this has tremendous public usage and visitation. So the real concern isn't the kids digging holes in the sand, and we know there are people metal detecting on parts of the beach. There is some concern about that. But what we're trying to look at in terms of protecting the site and recognizing the site is that we need to be looking at the potential for serious redevelopment on this parcel that is inevitable and will happen and has happened in the past.
Isn't the beach protected?
Well, no. Other than the city deciding considering this is through parks and capital improvements, I'm not sure which Tricia would know, that they have opportunities or situations where they have to do renovations or tree planting, or in our case, they were doing a new parking lot with irrigation. So we were called in to do the studies. But so that it was prompted by those actions. So what I see is that the board needs to be in a position to be certain that any significant improvements, and even minor improvements, are subject to some kind of archaeological documentation, as opposed to just seeing things happen in any potential way.
My other question originally was, why is there nothing to demarcate any of the historic structures on top of the beach so that people will know what's there?
Well, no one's ever thought of it.
That's on the city.
Pardon?
I mean,
It's on the city. The city owns the beach.
Well, but we're just raising the question.
So I mean that you're hitting exactly the point. We are in this atmosphere of ignorance about the most historic site in Fort Lauderdale, and everybody is walking around in this kind of pleasurable amnesia, enjoying the beach without understanding that there is this sense of place in the depth of history that has not been confirmed with signage or with any interpretive elements.
So why wouldn't you want to include some kind of demarcation of a sense of place as part of this application?
Well, I think that the sense of place is a result of the application. I don't think the application in itself answers all of those questions.
No.
But I think what it does, it sets the stage for proper maintenance and public protection of a very important site.
But you're not proposing any signage, any recreation of the outline of the fence?
No, not in this designation.
Chair,
but
that wouldn't be included in a historic designation application.
Okay.
So this is not a plan, it's a designation, yeah.
What I would also like to add to this is that this initial excavation was done in 2011. And so we are now here at 2025. And over the years, there's been discussion for a designation to this beach, but nobody's ever moved forward with it. And so I ask, why? Why have we waited till 2025 to bring this to the table? We've known since 2011 that this is a significant site, historically to the history of Fort Lauderdale, historically to thousands of years to the Tequesta tribe that landed on this beach. If you read the research done by Chris, it clearly tells you that not only was the third fort, the fort in which the city was named after, positioned there, but there were pieces of material that went back thousands of years that were an indication of the Tequesta tribe, which was the first native tribe that settled here long before the Seminoles and the Miccosukees came.
Good job. Thank you.
Do you have any
Okay.
questions for Chris?
Does anybody have any questions? Good.
In 2011, what did they find?
Go ahead, Chris.
So, in reviewing the report, you'll see that they have the faunal remains from the different types of food that they ate. There's ceramic remains. Those are things just from the prehistoric portion of the parcel. But at the same time, just notice from what Bob described, they were limited in their testing. That is a long purple strip that they may have conducted testing. But remember, it's basically a statistical sampling. So when you do that, they weren't excavating all of the parking lot because it was an active park and parking lot for the city. What they're doing is putting in specific small excavation units where there is disturbance going in for the pipes or other things. So you're limited in terms of what you can see under the ground. And people always ask, well, how do you know what's there? Well, you don't know until you excavate to some extent. Now with the digging that went on in 2011 through Bob's work, you do know that you have evidence scattered within those boundaries of all of these periods of occupation from the Tequesta prior to the coming of the Spanish to the elements of the fort from 1839 to 1842 all the way up through the 20th century.
If you were approved, what would be the future? What would that look like? Would that be blocked off, or what would happen there?
Well, I think people should continue to be able to enjoy the beach. I mean, I think the first step is for the city to decide whether now is the appropriate time to designate it first. Then to your other question that the chair raised about what would come in the future, it would really need to be a study done by the board and the people of Fort Lauderdale through the city commission about how they might want to recognize it. I mean, this year is the 110th anniversary of the city. Next year is the 250th anniversary of the country. These are questions that you should be asking as residents of Fort Lauderdale about how you want to present and honor the history of the city. I mean, you're on the Historic Preservation Board to take these matters into consideration. For the designation purposes, those are questions that are kind of beyond the ken of what you want to do for just considering designation, because those are really future planning questions. First, you have to look at the merits of the designation itself. And I do understand the city's position, having served in your place before. I mean, if there's questions about further defining the boundaries and how some of these things may be addressed in the future, I think that, appropriate time and measures should be taken to review those. And at the same time, these questions can be raised about what's most appropriate for the park itself. But you have archaeological sites throughout Broward and Dade County along the beach where there are occupations, and yet they're still preserved. There is the burial mound in Pompano Beach that's on the beach. I helped write the designation for that site that got it listed on the National Register a number of years ago. Did testing there.
And how was that denoted to the public?
Well, it was already a park, and it was actually the first archaeological park in the state of Florida that's been preserved. That started in 1926. It was a fluke of history in some senses that it got preserved that early.
I have a concern about designating this site without a plan to tell the public what it is?
That would be, with all due respect, Mr. Chair, I think in some ways you don't want to do the planning before you know what you're actually going to do the planning for. And the designation would then determine those boundaries.
And one other question for Mr. Carr. How do we know that part of the site is not underwater now? Because as the waters have eroded the beach.
Well, you're right. There obviously could be some encroachment from the sea to the extreme east, but we know from looking at aerial photos going back at least 70, 80 years that the general form has not changed between east and west. The form has changed mostly to the south, but you saw some of the early aerial photos, and you can see all the dredging that occurred on the riverside, that they cut away in certain places but added fill in other places. And that island you saw is a dredged island. That's not a it's not a natural island. So the barrier island is always dynamic, and those kinds of changes are just part of the reality of living on the coast. And I think what's important here is understanding understanding what is still here and finding the way to preserve and protect that location. And I think you made a really excellent point. What's missing is there is no management plan in terms of preservation, but I think the platform for that is initially a designation, and it could be a condition of the designation that a objective management plan, that is not the specifics, but the objectives of what a preservation management plan should be, could be included as something that you could be looking for.
Well, just a trick question. What was the inlet? What was the name of the inlet as it went through back then?
Well, it was, New River Inlet, right? Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, so.
Because most of the public probably doesn't know that there was that's the connection.
Yeah,
the inlet actually went through.
The New River Inlet has actually changed many times over the course of history because, as Bob's indicated, the sand on the barrier island in some places has shifted dramatically. Fortunately, we know here, both from the maps of surveys done for the state back in the 19th century, as well as the aerial photographs beginning early 20th century to the present, that the inlet was south of here. The inlet never cut through with the area where the site is today. But there have been times when that inlet that was to the south has been filled and unfilled, has come through. Sometimes it was very shallow. It was served as a haulover, like you hear the haulover beaches all up and down the coast. And other times the inlet to the New River has been as low as down into Hollywood as the barrier island has shifted and that inlet has changed. But the inlet was here. It was to the south. It was toward the bottom end of that purple area. But then it was actually actively dredged in the early 20th century for a while to allow boats to come in and out. And then it was shifted to what now is Lake Mabel, Port Everglades.
So is there any site plan that shows like where some of these historic structures may have been located? The fort? Anything? I mean, because we're just looking at the orange.
Unfortunately, the Army didn't have archival records of its placement of the fort on the site. Bob's testing back in 2011 demonstrates where part of the fort was. We don't know exactly where the whole of the fort was, which goes to the questions raised by the city about what the proper boundaries should be, which I understand. Because, again, the testing back in 2011 was very limited in scope.
Well, one of my concerns with this is that there's no proper boundaries shown.
Right. And that's why we were indicating that if the city was to take the time to defer this, to be able to undertake what further testing might need to be done, I think that's an appropriate consideration.
Yeah, and just for legal clarification, it's not the city, it's the applicant that can ask for the deferral to the board, and the board can they can make the deferral.
Broward Trust is the applicant.
Right. And I was just indicating for the sake of clarity that if the deferral took place, then that would provide the city with appropriate time.
Was there any ulterior? Just a trick question here on it. Was there any alternative or ulterior reasons this is coming up now?
No, absolutely none, other than the fact that this is something that should have happened at least 10, 15 plus years ago. Somebody recently asked me that question, why wasn't this brought up 5 years ago? Unfortunately, I was not familiar with it. So this is something that came to my attention in recent years. If I can entertain you with a very brief story, I'll try to be quick. I was responsible for a historic designation not too long ago. It was the New River Castle. The New River Castle is on a parcel of land that was over 100 years old and had never been touched. When I made application for the designation for that castle, I learned after the fact that it was in the archaeologically significant zone, which I was unfamiliar with, and that part of that application I could have included a level of of protection to this land based on the archaeological significance. Unfortunately, I learned after the fact, and in order to save that castle, we gave up that land to designate that castle. That was very disheartening to me, because that was a beautiful piece of land, untouched, from the early days, pioneer days of the city of Fort Lauderdale. It is now, has 2 lovely homes, or maybe even
Chair,
3.
I'd like to bring it back to the item that we're in consideration.
But I'm trying to help you. Thank you, thank you, Tricia. I'm just trying to help you understand that the significance of the archaeological aspect is something that I just learned about in recent years.
Okay, thank you. Alan?
Real quickly, Michaela, thank you so much for coordinating this and bringing this to our attention. I'm a big supporter. I would like to get the particulars right as we go forward. Welcome back to the Historic Preservation Board. I'm sure it brings back fond memories for you.
Great memories, particularly your first case.
Yeah. It's long overdue, and so I'm excited at the work that you all are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. We have a number of people in the public. Pardon?
I'm just going to ask.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, sorry. I just wanted to make something on the table, put something on the table, how important it is to, first I want to thank you guys for your graciousness and your passion and your articulate explanation of what you're trying to do. And with that being said, I'm looking for a lot more clarity on what's coming, and I think it's necessary for you to understand what the city is looking for, and I think it's really important for us and the city to understand what you're looking for. And I don't know that we can get to that tonight because there are so many other departments and so many other questions and people that aren't here that can answer every question. But even with that being said, I'd like to also say that everybody who has a dog thinks that their dog is the best in the whole wide world. And they're all right. And everybody that's in this room is here because they love their beach and they love their town. And so do we. We're here we donate our time. The staff does a great job. None of us are here as representatives as your commissioners or city fathers. They make the decisions. They own the beach. They've brought you all here and all of us here for different reasons. So if we do get to listening to the public and we do hear people's opinions or sides, I would ask you all to be extremely respectful to these people who work for the city, who do their job and don't make decisions. And to this board, who will try to do the best we can for the best interest of the city and the best interest of the beach, regardless of whether it's what you want or what we want, it's going to be with that intention. So there's no hard feelings in the beginning. Let's keep it that way in the end. Thank you.
And I also wanted to mention something that a number of people have signed up to speak. If you're saying something that someone else has previously reiterated, let's try and move through that quickly because we don't want to keep everyone here for too long.
I know we're going to make a suggestion that we ask this applicant to resend the application. I mean, I don't know if this is a proper time to bring this up, but is it possible for us to have that discussion now, or do we have to hear from the public first and still hear from the public? But can we at least get that off the table or on the table?
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly ask the applicant. I mean, there are a lot of people here to speak, so I mean, you could ask the applicant if they want to defer after letting the people speak. That also is an option. You have the ability to do it's at your discretion.
So I have a question for the board, and that question is what I'm hearing, and I want clarity. Some of you feel that you need further clarification with regard to the archaeological significant zone, the future overlay that we are including in this application, and how that all ties in to what will happen here with this beach.
And I also thought it was a good idea to come up with some kind of verbal management plan.
I'm not.
You don't?
Yeah.
Toward the end of the report that I prepared that you have, you'll notice that there are things that the city could take into consideration now, and that includes if there's going to be any, regardless of whether the designation occurs right now or not. You already know it's an archaeologically sensitive zone, otherwise Bob wouldn't have done the work. There are things you can do now to at least, to your earlier question you were talking about when people are in use in the park, if you want to prevent things that could happen detrimentally to the archaeology, you could prevent digging just within the park by posting signage. The park's already proposed. That's in the report, some of the recommendations I'd have if there was a management plan in place. So there are things you can consider, which I think largely the city may be doing. If there's going to be any kind of further construction, much of which led to the work that was done in 2011, you could ensure that a certificate of appropriateness, certificate to dig, and appropriate archaeological measures are taken place before that happens, so nothing detrimental could happen to any of what's maybe buried there. And so there are things you could put in place just to ensure the protection regardless of designation tonight or not.
Go ahead.
That's a lovely suggestion, and that's what I'm talking about. That's a lot of work to do. And there's a lot of language in it, and there's a lot of questions that I have, even that are outside what this young lady just described. So I have questions about beach renourishment, the turtles situations, what is going to be there? What if this happens? What if we need a fire station on the beach? What if we need handicap ramps? What if? I have a ton of questions, and it's not that I'm saying no, but it's not that I can say yes until we have a lot more T's crossed and I's dotted. Your suggestion of what you want to do is valid, and it's reasonable, and it should go under consideration. But there's an awful lot more that has to be brought before this, in my opinion, for me, to come before this board to make a balanced decision on all parties involved. This beach is owned by the city of Fort Lauderdale, and they run it it belongs to the people. And we're going to hear from the people, but that's just the people that are here. Now I got to hear from the people who run the city, and I got to hear from the people that might come into my bar. So thank you.
If you look,
is there active construction being requested?
not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Not to my
Is there any
knowledge.
active projects? Anything?
Not that I'm aware of, but that's not our focus.
Just figured I'd ask. I just wanted to go out on record. Okay.
Yeah. If you review the research done by Chris all the way through to the planning context portion of the application, it talks about the city's comprehensive plan, and part of the city's historic comprehensive plan is there's a section for historic preservation and how that fits into this comprehensive plan. And it's specific to policies that the city is, it's recommended that the city follow those policies with regards to the historic preservation, including archaeology. So it's in your report.
Okay, go ahead, Robert.
Let me try to understand the two options. I think you're of the belief that there are a lot more things that we need to get answered, that you want to get answered before we make a decision. Am I correct in that? And if it's going to be postponed, I would like to see personally that we get this information and hear from the public then, because hearing from the public now where we're not making the decision tonight does not make as much sense. So my suggestion would be that you make the motion or you agree to postpone it. You have some tremendous expertise. We hear from them then, we know a lot more, and then we can make a valid decision.
Thank you. And so just for, again, clarity from my own, this is a new process for me. I was under the impression that the attorney would be the one that would make the request for the deferment, or that it could also come from the HPB board. I didn't know that it actually had to come from Broward Trust. So
We can make it.
We are making a request.
Okay.
I'm proposing that we request you to rescind your application until further
No.
discussion and information.
well, not
is
rescind,
exchanged.
because, no, that is incorrect.
Yeah, the right word.
We're not
Yeah,
rescinding
defer.
this application,
Postpone.
Defer.
deferring this application for
Sorry.
further, for further investigation and clarity.
Thank you.
Does the applicant want to do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And how long would you like to request your deferral?
I would say 30 to 60 days.
Yeah. We can't do it in 30
So
days.
I don't really
No.
know what the process is.
Well,
So we
in
would
order
want to
do it
So
in 30
can we do a 30-day deferral so
when
that
do
we
you
can?
have to, when can you get it in? When is the material due?
It's
the deciding-
September. I'm sorry.
No, it's not the next date. It's when it's due to the historic department.
Okay. Tricia.
So for the October HPV meeting, any new materials would be due September 22nd. For the November 3rd HPV meeting, new materials would be due October 20th.
So what I'm asking for is basically would be a window of time so that I can confer with the professionals, and then probably come back and most likely add for a second deferral once I know exactly what
do you mean
what
by
is involved.
What do you mean by the second referral?
Well, if whatever
She's not
I
ready, she'll
learn
defer
in
it
this
again.
window, and we bring it back to the board.
So you're saying 2 months?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So
I just don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Chris.
Sorry. So if I could chime in, I'm Chris Cooper, Assistant City Manager. So we have a couple things to consider here. One is the archaeologists' timeline on what they think is needed to actually do the analysis and research, which I assume will include some core sampling or other work on the beach. There is a process, and I'm not sure if the attorney can opine, but there's a process to grant access for them to go to the beach and take those samples, I believe, unless I'm not aware of some exemption for archaeologists. So we'll have to build that into the timeline as well, in addition to the time to bring that back to the HPB through the normal notice process. So those are the items we need to consider. Those are some questions I don't have the answer to because I'm not an archaeologist to know what that process looks like for them. I do know that depending on whether or not access has to be granted through a commission action or an administrative action, that those two timelines could be a bit different as well.
So who can speak to the timeline? I guess what we're saying is, if you're saying you can't have it done within 2 weeks to meet.
No,
the
I'm saying 2 months. We would
so
defer.
you would have a deferment of 2 months.
Yes. And,
Okay, that's
and,
what you're proposing.
And put together an action plan
Right.
and bring it back to you in 2 months. And if we find that the questions still haven't been resolved, then we ask for a second
Right.
deferral.
I'd also like to see just a site plan that shows the site that you're considering on one sheet.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay? Do we have to vote on this?
I have a question for the city attorney.
Sure.
So if I'm hearing the applicant correctly, they're asking for the 2 months, and if the new testing doesn't fit that window, they'll ask for another deferral until that testing's done so we can move forward with the results of that testing as one part of our conversation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so as we as a board are going to be requesting information from the city itself and whatever plans there are for that area, whatever the city, what is allowed, what isn't allowed, what requires a certificate of
Appropriateness.
approval, and what does not, what can go, fly through, what has to go through hoops, what slows things down, what doesn't. We would also have the opportunity to say, we don't have all our information yet, and we would suggest that we need more time. So I just want to be fair about this, because when this whole thing started, there seemed to be a cloak over it in some people's minds that we weren't all putting our cards on the table. And I just want to make sure that when we leave here tonight, everybody walks out of this room, has respect for the fact that everyone was honest and told the truth, and nobody's got anything hid behind the curtain like Oz. That's it.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, if I could just get clarification so that we bring you back exactly what you're looking for in that 2-month period. I did have a quick aside with Mr. Eck here that in 2 months, the update to you all will be their plan for what that further analysis and review could look like. I just want to be sure we're not talking about that the analysis. I don't think the analysis is going to be done in 2 months based on my conversation, but I just want to make sure that we're all making sure your expectations are met in 2 months and that you're getting back what you're expecting to get
So
back.
you would be giving a master plan, so to speak, to what it would be.
I would have to confer with the Broward Trust, but I would suspect within 2 months you'd have an answer about what more time may be needed to accomplish some of the things that would answer the questions of the board.
That's not to say that if it were possible that level of testing could occur during the 2 months. It's just that the results and the analysis may not be complete. I don't think we need to necessarily wait 2 months before we start.
Thank you.
City Attorney, the board is allowed to speak to Patricia about our concerns and questions in this period that we're waiting for our 2 months from now and say, hey, this is what's on my mind?
No, I would, oh.
He's talking about me.
Oh, Tricia. I thought you said Patricia.
Yeah,
You said Patricia.
We
Yeah,
can
no,
communicate
Tricia.
with
Yes, you can.
staff
Absolutely.
and say, by the way, Arthur can call and say, I'd like to see some maps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tim could call my commissioners and say, what are the plans for that area? Is there something going in there? Is it going to need a certificate of appropriateness or not?
Yes.
And my biggest question, just so everybody, because everybody's listening, is there something on the books in the city of Fort Lauderdale that stops any kind of Walmart from going in there, condominium, hotel? I don't know, and I don't want to start a fire. Please.
Yeah, I mean,
I just want to get an answer from the people who know, not the people who think they know or have an opinion about it without proper information. So I want to read it, see it with dried ink, so I understand exactly what we're dealing with.
Absolutely. And whatever help we can give you to understand the designation factors, we'll be here for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Just as an aside, Tim, this is zoned parks, so you can't really build a retail type.
I'm all for knowing that. I just know that there's people who aren't going to believe that unless I could hold up a piece of paper and show it to them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for.
So, Tricia, does the board need to take any action on this?
You would need to
Vote?
make a motion for deferral to, if they're asking, till the
All right.
November 3rd
Would you like to
Historic
make a motion?
Preservation Board
I'm making
meeting.
a motion. Stand back. I'd like to make a motion to ask the applicant for a deferral to the November
3rd.
meeting with the HPB. Please.
Yes, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Oh, second.
Oh, 1 second.
Oh, second, sorry.
Second, sorry.
The motion still carries.
Make another motion.
That's
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you,
Thank
HPB
you.
board.
Now,
Thank you for bringing this to the board.
are we going to hear from the public or not? Okay.
Well, we don't, we just deferred it.
Okay.
Trish,
He did. Yeah. So we still have a meeting going on, so we
thank
still
you.
have a
We're not
meeting
done
to
yet.
complete. If you are exiting the room, please do so quietly.
We're just about done. We'll be done.
Hey, folks, we still got a meeting going on here.
Tricia?
Come on,
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
so our next
give him the hand.
section of the agenda is for communications to the City Commission. Yeah.
Do we have any, we have no commit,
I would ask that everyone still in the room remain quiet.
can we ask every?
Out of respect for the city, could you please move on?
Gentlemen, could you, hello? 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 Could you guys move the conversation outside,
Yes, can
please?
everybody go outside who's going to talk?
Tricia, you were saying, we have no communication to the city.
Yeah, if there's no
Okay.
more communications.
And then this-
Did we lose? Did we lose?
No, he went to the
Robert?
restroom.
Oh, then we need to hold on.
We need to wait, yeah.
Sorry.
And there's no vice chair here, so we have to wait. What we're going to do is adjourn. I know.
Tried to get him to stay.
Hmm?
You tried to get him to stay.
He didn't leave, did he? Bob?
No, he's in the bathroom.
Oh, now we have two missing.
This guy, he's a piece of work.
I don't blame him. He was trying to save money, but, you know, I think we made a good decision on that.
We certainly did.
On that first one?
No, we could only, I'll tell you what we did.
It's the third
We said
time.
we don't have enough information to make it a qualified
No,
decision.
I'm talking about the first one.
Oh,
Not this one.
I think everything we did, I think
Yeah.
the first one was generous. And I honestly, between the three of us, I think the guy was walking a pretty thin line on how much he really knew was going on. Oh, no problem. No. Yeah, I did say Patricia.
We couldn't meet until you got back. No, now we have another member going.
Calling Jonathan. Hallelujah. I second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Not today.
All
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Go.
Aye.
All right. Meeting adjourned.
We vote.
Okay.